But when they got to that like Parliament funk sound where they were all dropping acid and just making music,
wow,
it worked. Like,
so that's what we should do then.
Yes, definitely. Hey, let's go. Welcome to the Music and Them podcast. That's what we're calling Music and Them because we don't have a name yet. So we're just going to call it Music and Them. That's spelled N-E-M. Music and Them.
You know what? That actually might be a good name. I'm kind of not mad at it.
Actually,
I'm kind of not. Music and Them.
That's a good candidate. But if you have any ideas for the name, send it to us.
Yeah, in the comments. Leave them in the comments. Because here's the thing. I was actually trying to make sure that no one had the name Musicology. And it did not take me long. Like literally as soon as I typed in Musicology in the search, I feel like 3 podcasts came up, real talk. And then I clicked on one because they had it at Instagram and I was like, well, I guess that's that. So we were saying in the other podcast that we were Musicology until we found out or until someone sent us a cease or desist letter, but we'll just do it. We'll just stop.
It just took the first month for that Google search to happen. Don't worry about the timeline.
Right.
It's all good.
It's neither here nor there, really, if you ask me. Like,
don't matter.
So at the end of the day,
we're in the metaverse now.
Facebook, that's right.
Let's go.
This podcast is in the metaverse. Man,
throw on your Oculus headset.
You're right.
See us in 3D.
Pretty much. You can actually be in the. That'd be dope, though, right? Like if you were doing the podcast and like we could have a guest. Like an audience of people who were there in the metaverse and we were doing the podcast in the like there's something that we actually might want to look into. That sounds crazy.
Gonna be a normal thing.
That sounds weird. We can just go live
in the metaverse.
I hear you.
It has to be. It would be live in the metaverse.
I hear you.
That'd be.
Got their
How much money did they give you to say that?
They didn't give me any. What? Like what? Like, what? Yeah, no, nobody gave me any money, bro. I'm out here just trying to figure it out. Like, I think this is that. But like, would it not be dope? Like, wherever we're at, you could be at home, you could be wherever in the studio.
And the best part about the metaverse is you design your own avatar, so everyone's just way more beautiful.
I mean,
everyone looks.
I definitely be more
beautiful. They want to look.
But imagine this also, right? I know we're supposed to get into this podcast, but let's go. Let's talk greasy. Imagine this, right? Imagine that when you put the goggles on, not only can you make yourself look like whatever you want, but you can make your wife, no disrespect, you can make your wife look like whatever you want her to look like.
But I don't even think, I don't even
comment. I'm not.
Here's the thing. I don't even think you'd have to do that though, because she'd probably make herself look how she wants. And from what I've seen, women are more critical of themselves and more critical of other women than men are. And so I think that it would. Your wife would probably already be more bad than you would have conceived because she already has a conception in her mind of what her perfect self is.
Yeah.
You'd just be happy she did it. Like, listen, if this is,
I'm never taking these goggles off. No, I'm just
walking around the house with the Oculus on.
Oh my goodness! You gonna take your goggles off and just be mad, right? Like, yo, the battery's dead. God, man, that's wild,
man. That would be whack. Okay,
metaverse, it's coming, people.
Dude, that'd be dope. They could be in the podcast with us.
And on that note, download the DrumTrax application.
You might as well, or they can go on the website. Either way, we have both of them now, the website and the app. But listen, if you're trying to take your drumming to the next level, we're here for you. If you need drumless play along tracks and you don't have any tracks to play to, we're here for you. And so that's just what that is. Anyway, let's get into today's topic. What are we talking about today, guys?
Well, first off, we got Legendary's 51.
Sam God.
My name's Damani, and I do happen to be the founder of DrumTrax. That's all.
Indeed. Today we're going to talk about egos, and we're going to hop into that by talking about Kanye and his Drink Champs interview that just happened. It was,
it didn't just happen.
Again, the timeline, the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean,
it happened roughly 3 months ago.
So I think like, I guess time is relative. I don't know if you guys are into that kind of thing. One of those people that believe that time doesn't really exist. And that all there is right now.
I'm a very moment oriented.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's cool to be moment oriented.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the moment is what exists, right? And the past is like forever present almost, because it's what I just said is now in the past and now the past and now the past.
I think Kanye brought this up on the interview.
Yeah. I think he did. I think he did.
There's only right now.
I don't know, but like.
But that means the future is always happening and the past is always happening all the time, every moment.
Every moment is happening at the same time.
which is
Yes.
wild.
Yes. Let's go.
But time is the fourth dimension, right? So you
Is
got
it?
length, width, height, and time.
It's like, but that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, time is kind of like, when you think about it that way, it's kind of hard to conceive of, right? Like, you could conceive of time in a linear fashion, the fact that there's the past, there's right now,
Yeah.
and even though right now just keeps happening, and then there's the future, which we're now in, and now we're not, now we're in, and now we're not, right? Like, it's, and then there's the distant
It's like
future.
we're stepping into it, but then it's gone.
Right.
It
As soon as
keeps getting away.
you step into the future, you're in the present, and then it's the past, right?
Yeah.
So I get it, but it's, to me, it's just hard to conceive of time in that way, in terms of like this thing that you can, that's all happening at the same time. But I guess it would have to be, right?
Yeah,
If
it's
the
like
future
part of
is
my
a
brain
thing,
can understand it, but then the rest of my brain just hurts when I'm trying to
right?
think about
Straight
it.
up.
I guess
You
that's
know?
why and it's crazy because I listen to podcasts and watch videos of very smart people talk about things like this all the time, and the conception of it is, it's just hard to understand, and they have to talk about it in ways that are super abstract, because time is a thing that we experience, but not like a thing we can touch. It's not like a thing you can watch. It's not a thing you can
Kind of
observe.
like music, in
and
a
that's
way.
what Kanye said on the interview
Because
too.
music is like gone as soon as you do it.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can record it, but then you're recreating this
Right.
moment that happened. But
Yeah.
that moment is still that moment. And when you're just playing a song for people, you know, it's not like a painting where you paint it and then it's just sitting there and they can keep looking at it.
That's
You know,
true.
As soon as the song's done, that's it. You know, where did it go? It just disappeared out into the universe.
And it's crazy because I literally think about writing songs this way, right? Because like when I first started learning how to play the piano, I started learning how to play because I was playing drums first only, right?
Yeah.
And when I started playing keys, it was because I was hearing music in my head. And I was hearing like arrangements in my head. And I didn't know how to play anything other than the drums. But I would go to sleep and hear these arrangements, and sometimes I would hear these arrangements randomly, but like especially in school, I would go to sleep in like econ class and wake up and have had this experience where I heard all this stuff and be like trying to plug my ears all the way to the car so that when I get home, I can try to figure, like I just want to remember the melody of it at least.
Yeah.
But due to all the outside noise, by the time I got home, it would be gone. And so I always felt like, because that happens now if you're a musician, have you ever written anything, you've ever been in the shower and there's this melody that comes to you or this bass line or this idea, like it's almost like as if it was already real somewhere. It just
Yeah, it's
came
like-
to you asking you to make it real here.
That's why they say you're like you're a channel. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
just a conduit,
The
yeah.
music's out there almost, but you're like an antenna, and you're picking up on these frequencies.
Right.
We don't really know where that comes from. That's
Right.
the inspiration.
Right, but it's crazy because it's like if you don't do it, it goes somewhere else, right? Like it's almost like it's this thing seeking to be made real here. It comes to you, you do nothing with it, it goes over here.
Oh, you ever had a great idea and then you don't go anywhere with it, and
Yeah.
then like a few months later you look online and someone is just doing the
Bro,
same thing
bro.
you thought of.
Janelle Monáe's Arcandroid album, which is why it's one of my favorite albums. I had that idea like a year or two before that album came out.
See,
Wrote all the songs and everything.
you were
It's
supposed
No.
you were supposed to be Janelle Monáe.
No, I wouldn't have been Janelle Monáe. But the concept of that album where she had orchestral pieces
Yeah.
that took pieces of the melodies from all the songs and made it into an orchestral piece. And there were
Wow.
3 of those sprinkled in the album that took pieces from every song and put them together. And I was like, that would be dope, like a theme and variation album. Or something in that realm. Like,
Somebody did it.
And
But they
then,
say like there's like
Yeah.
in human history, like some weirdness happens where whenever there is a leap in knowledge in one side of the planet, like people on another side of the planet that had no communication with people who were on the other side of the planet, for some reason has the same leap in knowledge.
Yeah.
For some reason, it got there
Yeah.
somehow, and they didn't communicate though. There's no way that we know of that they could have communicated.
Right.
So it was like
they discover these things independently.
right, but around the same
Around
time.
the same time. It's just like a movement, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like I don't know. It's weird, but I have absolutely no idea how we got all the way to where we are right now. But I think it's pretty cool.
Because it's like you don't really create anything, you just discover it, you know? Everything is kind of there, and
Yeah.
you're just kind of uncovering it, like new knowledge or a new invention or a song.
Right. And they know how they say things like music, everything that's ever been played or everything that you could ever create has already been created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I wonder, right? Because was that true before jazz was created? Was there somebody doing things like that? Now, I will say this, and I forget the guy's name who has a YouTube channel, but he was breaking down some Baroque vocal harmony that happened 100,000 years, not 100,000, but 100 or thousands of years ago. And when he broke the harmony down that this Baroque choir was singing, and then he put the voicings on the piano, these voicings were extremely modern, extremely jazz, extremely not what you would have thought you would have thought they would have just been doing these classical things, but the harmonies were insane, and they were singing them as a choir. And when you put them on the piano, he took the harmonies that they did, took 5, 6, 7 chords and made a neo soul joint with it. Yeah. And the voicings were ridiculous. I can't remember the guy's name who did it on the channel, but if I ever find it, I'll
put it in the comments, people.
Link it in the bio. I'll forget he's a popular YouTuber too as well. But I can't forget his name. I can't remember. But anyway, egos.
There's a lot of people with big egos that don't deserve them.
I mean, but do you even think when you say big ego, what do you mean? First of all, because somebody's gonna say we all have egos. It's the acknowledgement of you being yourself.
Everyone technically does have an ego,
right?
Let's start there.
Yeah, but
we're talking about an inflated ego,
right? Yeah, the overinflated ego, people that have. Robert Glasper said it, talking about the people who are validated by their gig. If you didn't have that gig, you wouldn't even have the same friends.
That was a
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
music nerd post.
Whoa, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he basically said, you have one gig and you're out here holding it over everyone's head. You're not the best at your instrument. You're not the best. You're not even close.
You're right.
You're not even a third
What are you
best.
without that gig? You're nothing without that gig.
Yeah.
And I've known a couple of those
good
cats.
at your instruments. Jesus Christ.
They're who is he subbing right now? I just have to know.
Somebody is getting checked.
Right.
Yeah, straight up.
They probably knew who they were.
The reason why I felt that so hard when he said it, though, I was like, I feel that in the pits of my soul, is because I remember coming up and trying to get good because I thought that's what it took to get the gig. You have to be amazing. Yes. You have to I didn't even play out for a while because I'm no, I'm not good enough. I need to be.
I have to measure up
in the great, and you're measuring yourself against the greats and all that stuff, and you're practicing, and then you get good enough, and then you go to play the gig and realize they don't want
a lot of people
you are, but they don't want you to do any of the stuff that you got good at doing on this paid gig. There's certain genres of music where you need it. If you're trying to play jazz or jazz fusion, or even some rock, don't get it twisted. There's some heavy rock musicians that are actually extremely talented and skilled.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing frontwards and backwards. It's not a game. You can't go into that either half-baked.
Yeah.
But when you're to play a pop gig, I know guys, and don't get it twisted, there's some raw guys playing pop gigs that are phenomenal, that could play their tail off, they could play all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, they're playing jazz gigs on the weekend.
They're doing all kinds of stuff, and they play the pop gigs, and they do what they need to do for the pop gigs. But there are guys who are playing pop gigs who are not what you would consider the most skilled musician.
Bro, a lot of pop gigs, a lot of those songs don't even have sevenths in any other chords. You're playing triads.
Very true.
Almost
very
all
true.
Of it. Yeah.
I remember one time I saw it was a performance on Good Morning America. And when the band was playing, the song didn't even have any chords. The keyboard player was literally playing 2 notes on one hand and nothing on the other hand. But he had 4 keyboards, and the drummer was playing drums. There was a bass player and a guitar player, but there really was no guitar on the song. And they had a DJ. The real band was the DJ.
Right.
It was all aesthetics. Yeah.
It was all aesthetics.
Yeah.
I know someone personally who told me, hey, I played a gig with such and such artist, and they flew us out of the country to do this gig. And when I got there, I was playing on an electric drum kit that wasn't plugged in.
That's lit. I mean,
so
it's trash.
But this is a pop artist. It's
a lot of
show.
these really big gigs, the musicians are literally doing nothing. I mean, it's just part of the like visual aspect of like having people on stage and having that effect of a
to an
band,
extent, but it depends. It depends on the gig you're on, because there are gigs where, like the drummer's usually playing, right? Yeah. They usually have the drummer playing, but there's usually a lot of sounds in the tracks. You might go on TV and stuff is pre-recorded, and you might be playing. You might just be looking like you're playing.
And if you are playing, you're just playing a part. You're just playing probably a simple part.
Yeah. For sure.
All that training, you didn't necessarily need all that, but it helps get you to where you're at.
Right.
Because
the other part of that is it takes another level of training to, once you learn all that junk, it takes a whole nother level of training to not do it.
Yeah,
that's just play those 3-finger chords. I mean, when we're young, we can do it easily
to hold back. And not like, oh, I got all this cool stuff I want to do. Yeah. Like, no one cares about that.
Yeah.
Just play the 3 chords.
That's a whole other level of discipline.
That's where you have to let your ego kind of just
take the back 100%. And that's
it's not about your ego.
And honestly, even if it is about your ego, I would say this: if you want to keep your job, right, then you
Straight
do.
up.
Like I look at it like that. I look at it like, if I'm playing a gig, it doesn't matter who it's for. If I'm playing a gig for a cover band playing weddings, if I'm playing at church, if I'm on a pop gig with a professional artist, if I'm on a jazz gig, there's something that they're hiring me to do. And I'm on a job. So I have to fulfill the job description, or they're going to fire me. If the job description is to play 3 chords, then it's not about whether I could play or not. It's about, can I do the job for this thing? You know what I'm saying?
It's not about your artistic expression.
No, not at that point.
Which I think we talked about.
Yeah, we did that. We did talk about it in another part, but it's still it
begs reiterating.
Yeah, it's definitely worth repeating, because people don't understand. Like, so again, because like I said in another podcast, they'll give you some advice like, this is the way you should play. And it's like, no, this is what you do if you want to keep your job. You can play however you want to play on your own time, doing your own thing, if you're willing to build your own thing, which is a whole nother skill. To build your own thing as an artist and a creative is different.
And that's where you get to embrace your ego a little bit.
You get to do what you want to do.
You got to have personality to be that person.
Yeah.
Actually, the artist.
True.
The person creating something. You got to be vulnerable. Like, you got to be throwing a piece of you on the table,
right?
A piece of your personality,
and just hopefully a piece of who you are is like coherent and stable, or else everybody's going to see the incoherency in who you are,
right? And if it doesn't translate to people, then
that's the risk you take when you put out art, right? And it's okay. There's some people whose art don't even get really known until they're gone, right? Or they don't get accepted until they're gone. But a lot of times when people dream about being a musician, they're not really dreaming about being an artist for the art's sake. They're really trying to be famous and have money. Yes. And there's a lot of ways to do that. You don't have to be a musician to do that.
Yeah.
No. But if you want to...
That's a hard way to go about it, actually. Like, if you just want to make money, learn how to invest in the stock market. Like,
something.
Don't go the music path.
Build a skill that's high value, that's worth that people pay a ton of money for. But like,
or you can make a... Nope, I'm not going to say that. This isn't the podcast for that. We're doing good. Learn how to play your instrument. Keep playing the drums.
You need to have a podcast with Sticks. Sticks be wilding in the podcast. I'm not going to lie to you. But, I feel like having an ego is good sometimes, but it can get crazy and cause you to say crazy things and make you feel like you're larger than life and that
Hence the Kanye interview.
Yeah. And
I thought what was interesting to me is that all that ego and all that like
vibrato,
all that stuff. I'm the best at like 50 things. Like John Legend doesn't have 100 talents. Like that is also there's the insecurity that's going along with that.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's like the blatant insecurity that is right there with the ego. Yeah, it's almost like you can't have one without the other. The more out of control your ego is, you almost have to have some insecurity behind that, because it's like you're trying to prove something to people, and it's like, you already proved it, man. We believe in you.
You're right, but when you do that, you're also looking for the people you're saying it to agree with you, and you're looking for them to recognize and validate what you're saying. You're like trying to convince someone else in an effort to convince yourself.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you're obviously
like, I'm not crazy. Like I'm trying to convince you because I don't see why you don't see this, and I'm not crazy. I don't think I'm crazy, so I'm gonna try to convince you so I don't feel crazy.
Okay. Am I crazy?
So as a person that's a musician and kind of an artist, and who hangs out with artistic people, I will say that we are almost all as crazy as Kanye, except we didn't have the access. Imagine
That might be true.
Imagine if every move that you were making from the time you were 18 just led you closer and closer to this $9 billion. Every single time that you did something, it just led you like, okay, there's a couple mil. I'd be wild. What?
A lot of my moves
Like
just
straight up.
keep moving me
I'm
away
telling you
from
right
my
now, as soon as I get some money,
Oh,
my kids ain't gonna know who I am. My
Bro.
family not gonna know who I am. I'm not gonna know who I am. As soon as I get some money.
As soon as I get some money, oh boy, I'm throwing all y'all under the bus. Damani trash. Sam.
Who are these guys? Don't you know I got money? But at the end of the day, it is like that. I think though that there is reason for us to be like, okay, this guy has contributed a lot. He's done a lot of things, and people are buying a lot of stuff. Obviously, he's doing something that's of value. So yes, I understand that, and there's nothing wrong with having some self-esteem, right, and feeling good about yourself and being confident in the things that you can achieve. But like when you got to start putting other people down, and I'm not saying that's what Kanye was doing, although some people who watch his interview might say he was doing that.
Yeah,
but when
he did that a few times.
But I don't feel like you have to do that. I don't feel like you have to put other people down.
But a lot of that's the insecurity to me, because if you really look at all the people he was putting down, it was because of something that they did to him that hurt him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
true that.
It was always like, well, Talib Kweli.
I don't think Talib Kweli did anything to hurt him, though.
He was saying he was mad at him for wearing the MAGA hat and stuff like that. So he spoke out on that. So that's why Kanye was hurt by him. He was hurt by Big Sean for something. John Legend, like they spoke against him when he was trying to run for president or something.
They didn't align with his political views.
That damaged his ego.
Yeah.
So then he's firing back at them, like saying stuff that he probably doesn't mean.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's true. When your ego, you got to be careful of your ego getting overinflated, because it can cause you to get beside yourself, literally.
Yeah. It's fragile. Yeah. It's like an overinflated balloon that like is ready to pop.
Bro, there's nothing more fragile than the male ego.
Oh, talk about it.
There's nothing more fragile. My goodness. And don't let he was saying it over a bunch of dudes. Don't let no girl say something about you and touch your ego.
Yeah, it's bad.
You really are in danger of making a fool out of yourself at that point.
But no, I agree with that. Like he seemed kind of hurt by what they did, and just the fact that they didn't agree with him. I think he felt isolated from.
I mean, I think there is there has to be some sense of isolation when you make $1 billion, right? You're already isolated. Nobody makes that kind of money. No matter how many billionaires they say there are in the world, just compare it to the amount of people who are not. And they are vastly alone. Like at the end of the day, nobody's a billionaire.
You know what's even wilder?
Hang out with Jeff Bezos.
But what's even wilder than that? That's an American view. If you in the world view, which they travel the world a lot more than we do at that point, in the world view, if you make $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1%.
Right.
But in the world view. So they travel in the world as a billionaire and seeing all these people that 30,000 is like top 1% to most of the world. And they're like, I got billions. Like
what level are you even on at that point?
But did you hear like in the interview, Kanye was like talking about a dinner that he was at, and I think
the name drops.
It was it was
Mark
great.
Zuckerberg and Hillary Clinton.
No, he was like he said something like he was having a conversation with Steven Spielberg while sitting next to Oprah and across from Hillary Clinton at a Ralph Lauren dinner.
Yeah, that was
just like, what? like you just went to the who's of everybody on all different types of sectors. Right. Hillary Clinton, First Lady. I think she was she was the Secretary of State, I think. During Barack Obama's presidency. And then she ran for president. Then you got Oprah.
Who's Oprah?
Media mogul. Right? Then you're
basically above a normal human.
Steven Spielberg, like one of the most legendary film directors in life.
Right.
At a Ralph Lauren dinner. Like,
this is a very rarefied atmosphere.
Who does
I don't
this?
breathe the same air.
Well,
as
and
these
not
people.
even that. Then he was talking later on about sitting and having a conversation with Elon Musk and Jay Prince at the same time. like what kind of life is this dude living? It's nuts.
it just, yeah. I mean, like, music is probably, it would make you think at least that music is probably the last thing on his mind, because it's like, how could it be number one?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you bought acres and acres of land to build a city. Like, he's talking about building a town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's another level of thinking outside. That's another level of creativity as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think, but this is the thing that I am starting to actually, I feel like I'm starting to understand, is that when you are an artist or a creative, that's just what you are. Like, whether you are a musician that can then, transition into other creative things. Like, most musicians who master their craft tend to transition into something else, right? Like, even when you look at like Miles Davis, towards the end of his life, he kept trying to experiment with different types of music. One of the things that he did not want to do is stay the same. I read in his biography that, like, in the 70s, he went to a jazz club and was mad at what he heard because they were playing the same stuff that Bird and them was doing in the 40s. Right. And I read that, I put the book down because I was like, that's still what I'm trying to do right now. Like, I'm trying to get it. But at the end of the day, he was like, man, you guys are still on this? Like, bro, that was 30 years ago. Yeah, and he's
like, haven't you heard "Bitches Brew"?
Like, you haven't heard it yet. He liked John Coltrane though, because he's
and Coltrane changed his whole style completely.
Yeah,
I mean, he went from writing like giant steps, the most complicated. Like, I mean, it's a hard song to shred through.
Yes,
let's put it that way. Yeah. Changing keys, all this. Then A Love Supreme, and then like there was an album called like Cosmic something.
Yeah.
It's just totally like, let's hang on one chord forever and do some hippie chanting and like.
Yeah. Have you heard of his wife's stuff?
She was on that album I'm trying to think of that was like Cosmic.
Yeah, but she made albums after that.
Yeah, Alice Coltrane stuff is sick.
Have you, and so like, I don't know if was she hanging out with like, what's the guy's name? Sun Ra?
Sun Ra.
I'm not. He's crazy. But yeah, Sun Ra's out
crazy.
there too.
It was like
I'm an alien.
He was like a precursor to like, he was like the jazz version of George Clinton, like weirdness. Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to like say it in a disrespect. Now Kanye. But Kanye's not like going on stage in diapers and stuff, like,
Yeah, Parliament was lit.
Out there.
Parliament's concerts were lit. I really wish I had been around in that time, because that seemed like it would have been the most lit show to go with. I'm going to send y'all, and maybe you might be able to throw it in one of these clips, but there's a song of Parliament's that's really lit. I'm going to send it to y'all, and maybe we might be able to get it in here. But yeah, one of the things that I was thinking about with Parliament and kind of tying back into Kanye and Egos is that's another group of people who what they did that was theirs was the thing. Like, it was successful. Like, they started tripping. They were all in different iterations of different groups and whatever. But when they got to that like Parliament funk sound where they were all dropping acid and just making music,
wow,
it worked. Like,
so that's what we should do then.
Yes, definitely. I remember when I was young and I started hearing about when I was young and I was studying all the jazz stuff, like you were saying, and then I was hearing about all these people being drug addicts, and so I just in my head, I was like 13, and I was like, so I got to take coke, huh? Okay, let's go.
Wow.
And my pop sat me down. He was like, all right, so listen, we're gonna talk real quick. That is not it.
But it like, people do they make it seem like that? Like, someone like there's I know people who's like, bro, you don't get high when you're creating the stuff that you like all the stuff that you've been creating. Like, you're not high when you do that.
No, I can't be high. I can be a little buzzed, but I can't be high.
Like, just
like I can have a beer or two or something, but yeah, I can't be high.
Some people like to go all the way there. They feel like there's inspiration on the mountaintop.
Yeah, we should create an album on DMT. Y'all want to do some DMT? Make an album?
Now that takes you way outside your body.
And you know what's crazy? I've watched a lot of, like, of course, like Joe Rogan on his podcast. I was always talking about people doing ayahuasca, and I remember I was hearing about it. I had been watching other podcasts and watching people talk about it before Joe Rogan was talking about it heavy on his podcast, like 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just this like, really, like people are doing this, and how like there's people in the tech world who are like high up, you know, CEOs that do what they call microdosing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And where they're literally taking hallucinogens, I guess is what we would call them, or what's the other term for it? Well, whatever. Psychedelics.
Yeah.
But in micro doses that don't cause you to go on a trip. Right. But it does this enhancing of their...
Yeah, it just gets you a little elevated, so to speak.
Yeah, and they like...
Allegedly.
And there's...
Let's go.
No, I mean, I've experimented with a lot of things. I don't even have any shame in it.
Yeah, got you.
But I also feel like...
Land Park kid, huh?
Yeah, hey,
get down.
We got down.
Yeah.
Tell you. But no, I mean, but you don't need that stuff to be creative.
Yeah.
You know,
not at all.
Like, I'm all for an ayahuasca ceremony, whatever. Like, that has valid, you know.
Have you ever been to an ayahuasca ceremony?
I haven't been to an ayahuasca ceremony.
That to me just seems terrifying. I love to hear people's stories about it.
Yeah, from what I've heard, I mean, that's a real like soul journey. You know, that's not something. Let's do some ayahuasca and play some music, man. It's like there's got to be a spirit guide to like lead you through while you peel back all the layers of your consciousness.
Like I just in my like that, but they say like people have similar type experiences when they do like mushrooms or what's his name? Mike Tyson was talking about the toad, right? All the time in his podcast, and I'm like, yo, was he really like?
I've heard people
looking at toad or like what was he? I don't know. I mean,
there are toads that have,
and they like. I'm saying, but they like lick the toad. Like literally, is it alive? Like, what do they like? I can imagine a toad letting you lick it. Like it's like
let's go
against the toads.
Drug episode, run it.
drugs and drums. That's the name of the podcast.
I don't think the toad is consenting to this whole thing.
Let's go.
Right. It's just
There's no proper consent.
The whole Me Too for the toads, right?
I don't think a toad would let you lick it.
I'm just saying, like that's the visualization I got when people talking about the toad. I'm like, yo, did you just pick up the toad and put it in your mouth? Like,
I heard them talking about ayahuasca. Everybody sees elves.
That's what Joe Rogan was talking about.
Yeah. He was talking about it on that last podcast with the.
But he had talked about that before, though, too. I mean, I've been listening to the podcast for a minute
too. Like they say that it opens your eyes to this other world around us of gnomes and fairies.
You know what? They also say that ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, let's go. I'm gonna be ignorant.
Sometimes I just be like, yo, like, cause like I'm one of those guys that can go off the deep end on something that I get interested in. So whether it be like quantum physics or whether it be, you know, you start hearing about people microdosing or whatever, conspiracy theories, anything that you go off the deep end, and after a while, I just want a Saturday morning, a bowl of cereal, and some cartoons. You know what I'm saying? Like
Captain Crunch, baby, run it.
It was Cinnamon Toast. Cinnamon Toast Crunch for me.
I'm with it.
But you know what I'm saying? Because Captain Crunch, it always left this like weird rough feeling at the top of my mouth, the roof of my mouth.
A lot of those do. Yeah, they scrape up.
Yeah. But it was Captain Crunch.
Like,
Captain Crunch, especially with the Crunch Berries.
I don't like the way you pointing at me right now. He disrespected my microphones. He disrespected my cheap microphones.
I didn't even know about the microphone situation. I ain't even said anything about the microphone.
Don't you dare speak badly on Captain Crunch, okay? This man loves Captain Crunch.
No, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is better though. It's lit. I'm with it.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is where it's at, bro. Like if I buy a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, it's gonna be hard for me not to eat the whole box. Like,
straight up,
because there's like not a lot in there anyway. You pour 3 bowls of that, it's gone.
Bro, I feel that way about potato chips. And then sometimes my wife buy a bag of Costco potato chips, and I'm like, why would you do that to me?
Vadia.
You know I'm going to eat this today. Like, why would you do this to me? Yeah, don't
family
do
size.
Just don't do it. I can walk past it in the grocery store,
yes.
But if you bring it in the house, I'm eating all of it.
Bro, and I'm not going to know I'm doing it, right? It'll just be this unconscious thing as I'm walking through the house and I go into the kitchen. Yeah. I could be on the phone or because like when I'm thinking, like if I'm thinking about anything and I'm trying to like write something down or strategize for anything that I'm trying to do and I'm writing it down, I don't do it sitting. I can't.
Yeah.
I walk around while I
you're
do
a
it.
pacer.
Yeah.
I do that too.
And so
man.
so now, even when I'm on the phone, I walk around.
Yeah.
So what I do now is I'll just go take a walk, right? I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
good 2 miles, right?
Yeah.
And write whatever I'm doing and put it in the phone. But if I'm walking through the house and there's snacks in the house,
All of them.
like there's no snacks in my house. Like if you came to my house, there's no snacks.
Because
Like,
I had a phone call this morning.
Because you don't have kids. Once you get kids,
I don't have kids yet.
Then you get them their snacks, and then you eat all their
All of
snacks
them.
See, that's gonna be a
at
problem.
1 in the morning.
it's gonna be a problem.
All of them.
It's gonna be a problem. I'm gonna try not to though, but it's gonna be a problem.
And they have the little individual bags of chips, so you got to eat at least like 3.
Yeah, straight up.
Well, we have some like individual bags. We had individual bags of chips like right back there.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
I'll be right back.
It's hard not to. It is, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. We've gotten pretty far away from the ego situation, but I do feel like it's good to have a healthy sense of ego. But I think it's bad when your ego gets so big that you're no longer honest with yourself. That you start lying to yourself to maintain your ego, and you start making things everyone else's fault. You start making like if you're not doing well, or if you had a bad night on the gig, now it's your band's fault, or it's they didn't send me the music in time, and maybe they didn't send you the music in time, and you have a valid point there. But like in my experience, I've just met people who just at least is just not taking any type of accountability whatsoever,
Right.
Yeah.
And everything's everyone else's fault because you're just so great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
when
saying?
people are afraid to kind of make fun of themselves, that's like a red flag.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
like don't take yourself too seriously.
Right, like, and
and
I-
at the same time, do take
Right.
your goals seriously and what
Right.
you're trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, just realize that basically you're just like nothing in the grand scheme of the universe. You know
You're right.
what I mean? Like we all are. We're all pretty insignificant, and we should all just learn to
if
laugh
you look
at
if you look
ourselves a
up if you look like when you go like right now it's raining outside, right? At least at the time that we're shooting this podcast, it's raining outside. But when you go outside, and if you've ever been in an airplane, have you ever been on a flight when it was raining in your city, and then you leave like you're
You get
flying
above
up,
the
and then you just
clouds.
get above the clouds, and all of a sudden you realize that what you thought the whole world was cloudy and dark was just literally your little area, and that everything is much bigger. Like even in the same atmosphere, like you can get above this, and when if you ever look at the stars at night, it is a humbling experience. I know it's cliche. A lot of people talk about that, but it's a real thing. If you've ever been in a forest,
Out in the country and look at the stars, you see
you
all
actually
of
see
them.
stars
Yeah.
instead of like
All of
4
them.
stars.
Yeah.
right, and you see it's like you just realize like, have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen that YouTube video where like I think it's called the pale blue dot, where it starts off looking at.
Oh
the,
man, that was almost depressing. I was like, my gosh.
because it shows the Earth and where we are, and then it just zooms out.
Oh, right,
And then
right.
zooms out, and then zooms out, and then zooms out, and you're just like, because you're like, this is where you are. This is your galaxy. This is your cluster of galaxies.
Yeah.
This is your neighborhood of clustering galaxies.
Yeah, and a galaxy is
It's
already
massive.
like thousands of stars.
Like more than thousands.
millions.
Yeah. Like
Billions.
Yeah. It's like
That's
like-
just one little galaxy.
See, and the one that I saw went from like Earth to whatever the next biggest planet is, and then to the next biggest planet, then the sun, then the next biggest, and then it went out to the galaxies.
Galaxy.
And then I was like, "Wow, this is crazy."
And they said, and that right there, that speck of thing right there,
that's not even a speck anymore.
that's where you live. You're like,
yeah.
what?
And you're just one person out of 8 billion.
And so when you're
on this insignificant,
yeah, and so when
rock.
you're practicing in the drums and you feel like the world is over because you're not getting where you want to be and you're playing or it's not happening fast enough, trust me, it's not the biggest problem in the world.
Well, also, if you're not getting that good, just get a pop gig. You'll be lit. Let's go.
I agree with you. While I also don't think that it's that simple. Because I mean, listen. I know someone who will tell you personally, and he played a ton of pop gigs, like in the '90s for everybody that you could think of. Who's the top? He's played for a lot of these people, and he's like, "Yo, I didn't get called because I was the best.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't close to the best." But he had but they called him anyway.
a lot of times it's because you're more enjoyable to be around.
Number one. And of course, it's not like he couldn't play at all. He could play.
Yeah.
He could play. But it wasn't like, you think you got
He's
to.
not Chick Corea
Well,
or something,
right.
You know.
But there's also the aspect of, if we're going to talk about playing, there's an aspect of going like full Eric Moore, like where you could do all the chops or whatever.
Sure.
But what is your groove like? Like if you got all those chops and you're the best, and even if you're enjoyable to be around, if you don't have that groove that they need,
sure,
then they're just going to call the person that can play that particular groove, not all the chops.
So but I think that's an issue that happens with young drummers, because young drummers tend to have overinflated egos, mainly because of the issue of what's the word you use? I don't know why it slipped in my mind, but it's basically insecurity. That's the word. They have overinflated egos because of insecurity. When you're young, you're trying to prove yourself.
Yes.
When you're young, you're trying to show, no, I can play. No, I'm a beast. No, look at me. I'm raw out here in these streets.
Yeah.
And so, but usually, because like when you mention Eric Moore, yes, he is a chop master. He can play all kind of crazy stuff, but his groove is also incredible.
Yeah. That's not what I was saying.
You're right. I know that's not what you were saying.
And he is on gigs like that where he's just playing pocket.
His pocket is insane.
Yeah.
But a lot of drummers who can chop can play solid groove. The issue is that when you have younger drummers or any drummer who just makes bad musical decisions.
Yeah.
There's a component in playing music that people don't talk about. They'd be like, oh, he could chop, he can't groove. Like, he probably can groove. He probably is just makes bad decisions.
He doesn't know when to groove.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever played, well, I played football in high school, right? And let's say you have a talented running back who is very, 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 very fast, athletic, all the stuff, strong, but he just won't shoot up the A gap like he's supposed to. He keeps trying to run on the outside.
Yeah, man.
Because he's making, the read is like, no, the fullback hit him. You're supposed to go through this hole. I know it looks small, but this is your spot. But you keep running side to side because you want to use your athleticism, and that's not the best decision.
Right.
You're not good at making decisions. I don't think that Tom Brady is the best quarterback because his arm can throw the football farther than anyone in the world, or his athleticism, but he makes great decisions.
Yeah,
every single time.
It's not even his accuracy.
He makes
of throwing
great decisions.
Plays.
And so you can be a drummer who may not have all the skills in the world in terms of like if you're comparing yourself to a Thomas Pridgen or to a Vinny Colaiuta or a Dennis Chambers or Eric Moore or any of these guys that are the greats.
Yeah.
But if you can play a gig and you make the best decisions in the world for the songs that you play, you'll get called back.
Straight up.
You just will, because it just feels too good. Like that was, because it's not always about the chop you play. It's about when you play it, where you place it, and all those things.
Yeah.
People say, well, it's about the space. I'm like, to me, I understand. But the reason that space is there is because that musician made a good decision. But if you at that time, but if you say that the rule is it's just space is not the answer. Good decision making is the answer. And good decision making may cause you to leave space. It also may cause you to fill up space.
Yes.
This is just about being able to, but that comes with maturity, that comes with playing music. And so I feel like, younger drummers tend to have the overflow. Because even when you look at like Herbie Hancock or any of these other guys, listen to their albums when they were younger. Listen to their albums when they were older, and don't get it twisted. Chick Corea could still play his tail off. Yeah. And if you watch his concerts, even when he got older, he had moments where he would go in. You hear me? But he also had moments where it wasn't at. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I do feel like the ego thing. It is necessary to have an ego, because having an ego is literally just recognizing who you are. Right? When they say when you have complete ego death, it's like you're one with everything. You're not even you anymore.
You're Jim Carrey. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yo, Jim Carrey did throw us for a loop, didn't he?
That was wild. I loved every moment of it.
I was like, Jim Carrey, I was like, I feel where he's coming from, because I'm like, I understand what he was talking about. But I'm just like, but we weren't ready for that from you.
Right.
The reason why we weren't ready for that from you is because you didn't give us any in between.
You went from 0 to light speed.
But I got it in the whole beard situation, and him not, like, that wasn't who he was.
That girl in that one interview looked so confused.
Who? Oh, yeah.
And he was like, we don't exist. This doesn't exist.
Her.
Yeah, and he was just walking around in a circle.
I was just looking for the most meaningless thing to do tonight, so I came here.
Wow.
She's like, okay. He's like circling around.
He's walking around her in a circle, like literally just.
And so, but then didn't later on he like cut his beard and became in the public normal Jim Carrey again?
I don't know. He's going back and forth.
I wouldn't say he's completely like back to where he was, but I think he kind of, I think he went way out and then he dialed it back and found like a more happy medium.
For the public, at least. Who knows what he's like in real life?
Well, because like there's a whole documentary, Jim and Andy, when he did the Andy Kaufman movie where he played Andy Kaufman. He was completely in character the entire time.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
And he basically said that like Andy Kaufman's spirit inhabited his body when he was like on shrooms at the beach or something. This is something he said. I don't know if he's just messing with people because he could be, but
I've never done shrooms, so I don't know what that's like.
He basically talk about ego death. I mean, he basically like became Andy Kaufman on and off camera.
And off camera.
You know when people do
method acting.
Yeah, method acting. So but Andy Kaufman's like kind of a hard person to deal with.
Okay.
And so he embodied all of that. And so even the producers would be trying to talk to him and they're just like, can I please just talk to Jim? Can I please I need to get some clarity on something. And he just would not break character. So I don't know, something about that.
So how did he come out of that?
He can't act. That's where he started acting weird and just stopped like doing movies and stuff.
Got you.
He just kind of, at that point, he was just like, I'm
gone.
not Jim anymore. Jim doesn't exist. None of us exist. We're not real. And he just started saying all these crazy ideas.
Like, did he ever like talk about where he got his ideas from?
Not that I heard. I didn't hear that portion, no.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it relates to a lot of kind of philosophies that are out there.
Sure.
Like
and the shrooms, maybe. I don't know.
Buddhism.
The shrooms and the ego death.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
So basically, keep your ego or else you'll go insane. I'm the hot take guy. Let's run it.
And not have an overinflated ego. Well, look, man, this podcast this is a long one. So I hope y'all was rocking with us. If you rock with us, we appreciate it. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think, what your thoughts are. We're gonna read through the comments. We definitely reading through the comments, man. And if you have a topic you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments,
please.
Yeah, and download the DrumTrax app today.
Period.
And get on the website today.
Period.
It's lit.
Go practice.
That part.
Practice.
We'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, fam. Peace.
Holla.
Fam, it's your boy Damani. I hope you enjoyed the video that you just watched, and I hope you liked the video. I hope you left a comment, and I wanted to invite you into DrumTrax Premium. We literally have over 350 drum lessons, over 250, over 300 by now, drumless tracks, a community in the private Facebook group of drummers that we go live with and do live drum coaching every single week. We want to help you find your voice and explore your creativity on the drums, and we can do that with DrumTrax Premium. It's only 99 cents to sign up, so you can find the links in the description of this video. And also, if you're just looking to stream tracks, you can also find our streaming subscription where you can stream all of the tracks and all of the tracks that we ever add for just $5.99 a month. And if you're looking for more content, you can click one of the videos that are showing up on the screen right now and check them out. All right, fam? I look forward to seeing you in more videos, and I look forward to seeing you in DrumTrax Premium. All right, fam. Peace.